with a 1.5-second lead, it's really, really difficult to save fuel on a road course because 13 times you're slowing the car. That means 13 times you got to speed it up again. The only way to speed up a race car is to use fuel.
The gap now back to Smith, 1.7 seconds as he tries to chase down Buescher. And Brian Scott not far behind. There you see the gap from the 7 to the 2. And Scott has been one of the fastest cars all day and has led the most laps.
Yeah, he's been consistently 3 or 4 tenths faster than the leader up until that last lap. And sometimes when you try a little hard, you make a mistake in one corner, and that exaggerates your problem. You know, he lost some time with 10 to go.
You see many of our road course races have had a late caution. We're within 10 to go right now. Chris Buescher hoping that's not going to happen and that his road course skills can hang on to the end and the fuel. There's Tagliani pressuring Chase Elliott for 4th.
Chase had that close call earlier with Brendan Gaughan. Tagliani has had a pit road speeding penalty and had a little adversity on restarts.
And this late in the race, Ricky, we heard about Elliott Sadler having transmission issues. Mechanical things have been used up today and heated up and reheated, and tires are old. This has to be one of the toughest parts of the race.
It's an excellent point because, you know, the equipment can only take so much abuse. And we actually just saw a shot of these drivers using a little different lane through turn 1 there. Did you see that? All 4 tires below the apron. They weren't doing that 30 laps ago. Rick, you got something on the 22?
Yeah, let's talk about the points championship. And these two guys both battling for a points championship, but different ones. You've got Chase Elliott, who's going for the drivers championship. He needs every single point. It's so critical. He can't afford to let the 22 by. The 22, on the other hand, is going for the owners championship. He doesn't care about the drivers. And Jeremy Bullins came on to him during that last break and said, look, we know what the big prize is. We know what the points are. We need to finish this race. Whatever you do, make sure you finish this race. So I have a feeling Alex Tagliani is not going to push the issue. If he sees an opening, he'll take it, but he's not going to push it.
And remember what happened at the end of the Road America race. As Alex Tagliani was blasting through the field on fresh tires, he encountered at Canada Corner the 9 car of Chase Elliott going for the championship. And afterwards, Chase and Alex had a little discussion.
So now let me give you a driver's perspective, okay? Let's say we get a caution with 2 laps to go. Alex has never won a race. All of a sudden, there's going to be a radio problem. I'm sorry, Jeremy, I can't hear you. And he's going to drive like he stole it, you know? I mean, it's just that important to win a race. So I agree with what Rick just delivered with 10 laps to go because he's not in striking distance.
8 to go now for Chris Buescher. To the left, both drivers on board. What do you think they're talking about, Ricky?
They're actually saying to one another, we've done all we can do. We can sit here and second guess one another, and we can do the math 7 ways to Sunday, but the bottom line is it just comes down to how easy he is on the gas on corner exit and how much he can roll into the corner. They're not worried because they have what they have.
Bunch of veterans on that team put together this year, a brand new group essentially. Scott Graves taking over the helm for the 60 bunch. Saw Charlie Brock there leaning in, veteran car chief for this group, just discussing what they might have down here to the end. So lack of worry based on tons of experience.
You know, I said earlier, you know, it reminds me of, ooh, we're getting busy back here, Dave.
This group begins with Justin Marks in 6th. You see Gaughan there in 7th and on back. With 7 to go, Ricky, it should be busy, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and you got 5 cars in formation, all fighting for position. These are points drivers, nationwide regulars, you know, that are in the championship hunt, in the top 10. You got to love this foot cam. Watch the left foot. We call it trail braking.
Off track for Bain, meanwhile. Kwasniewski to the inside. Whoa, this is getting dicey. Whoa! Kwasniewski and Bain side by side in contact. Not the first time this season, by the way. Here goes Dillon. roughing up Trevor a little bit on the way by.
Yeah, James Busher at the front of this group right here is pushing water. You can see a little bit.
Come in then. 4 tires, clean screw.
See? Right here.
He's in trouble. He's in trouble.
Sorry, the 62 car. And yeah, he's coming to pit road. He's got no choice.
Have to push it big.
And Brendan, after good strategy and fresher tires than some of the other front runners, he's going to have to bring that car down pit road. The consequence of probably others running off in front of him, or his own off. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and it's really distracting when you're following that and you're wondering, you know, at what point might it get worse. It's very difficult to be an aggressive race car driver with water coming on your windshield.
And when water stops spraying out?
Well, from Brendan's perspective, then it just becomes a matter of time. It's going to expire.
See, that's what I was noticing. That stopped pouring out. So when that thing runs dry, he's got even more issues.
Yeah, then all that metal starts to melt.
Not a good thing.
No, and when shortly after the melting, there it is. Something. It appears as though something might have actually a line might have come off now.
Yep, that's right. You see water pouring on the right front, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've already called for the cool down unit. They may plug it in here. They pushed so much water out of that radiator. They've lost all the water now Brendan radios in. And they were in a good position if this thing got crazy late. They put in a lot of extra fuel, were prepared for 3 green-white checkers if it came to that. But all that has just gone by the board.
Looking to the right, Chris Buescher has been so predictable. Very, very smooth. He's encountering some lap traffic now, which you got to use really good judgment. There's a time and place to pass. There's a time and place to wait. And he just hasn't made any mistakes, Dave.
A 2.2 second lead now over Regan Smith and Brian Scott.
You watch Chris Buescher. You know, I said earlier, it's like watching a pitcher throw a no-hitter, and we were in the 6th inning, and guess what? Now we're in the top of the 9th. Okay, I mean, you're starting to count strikes. This young man has never won a nationwide race. The significance of it feels that important, and it comes down to doing everything right, not making mistakes, and having enough fuel.
A prototypical Roush driver is Chris Buescher. Ran in the ARCA Series for that team, for Roush Fenway Racing. On his way up the ladder, and an impressive season so far for him. Again, after missing the first race of the season, he's still 7th in the points as they run, and a chance to move up big time now. If he can just be perfect, Ricky, and with 5 to go, we don't get another caution.
Right, and as a leader, you look ahead and you see the lap traffic, and then you try to estimate when you're going to catch that lap car. And you're already trying to visualize as you're driving, as you're shifting gears, where am I going to make the pass? Because it's only a 2.5 second lead. It's a 2 second lead now. So he's being a little more conservative.
Elliott Sadler and Dylan Kwasniewski. Sadler holds down the 7th position. Kwasniewski's been moving forward in the 42. See Trevor Bayne go through in Roush Fenway car as well. There's Carlos Contreras in the 44. Has had a decent run today. Looking for another red and white car with a patient champion on board today. That's Ryan Reed. Remember, his car crashed in qualifying. He had to start at the back of the field, Ricky. And Ryan Reed is running 11th.
Yeah, doing a tremendous job considering he hadn't run a lap in the car until they threw the green flag.
And just flashing with a great battle there between himself and Dakota Armstrong. Good run for Ryan.
Yeah, it's a feel-good story for him as well, because that's a difficult way to end qualifying or enter a race in a backup car with no laps on it.
So we go back to this battle for the 8th place, 7th place for Kwasniewski. They just traded back. Elliott Sadler got it back. Little concern down there in the 60 pit now, Vince?
A little nail biting going on down here, that's for sure. They just told the fueler for the 60 to get ready in case he has to come for a late splash. The crew chief Scott Graves radioed to Chris Buescher a moment ago and said, save me a little if you can. Lift going into the corners. Chris said, no problem. They say they can make it, but obviously it's going to be very, very close. Those behind Chris Buescher certainly waiting to pounce.
2.3 seconds behind now with 4 to go. The last time Roush Fenway Racing was a winner at a road course in the Nationwide Series, 2012 Watkins Glen with Carl Edwards. The crew chief that day, Scott Graves, and he's on top of the box today for Chris Buescher.
And just a couple of days ago, I crossed paths with Chris Buescher, and I said, what's your objective? What are you going to do here in practice? You can see they're using all the apron. And he said, you know what? I just really need to learn this racetrack. I need to get up to speed. I need to acclimate myself. I need to understand my limits. And he hasn't appeared to me like a driver that didn't know where the limit of the race car was or the limit of the racetrack. He's honestly raced today like he had been here for a decade.
So, Ricky, what are the drivers who can now see him with just under 2 seconds gap? What are they thinking, Regan Smith and Brian Scott?
Well, the best chance that they have is to get close enough to make him use fuel. In other words, if they can close the gap, then there are no free lunches for Chris Buescher. He's going to have to race aggressively and try to maintain that lead. But with the lead of 2 seconds, he can be a little more conservative.
So they want to force his hand, whether it be by forcing him into a mistake, which we haven't seen, or the use of more fuel. You see Chase Elliott there in fourth. He can see the front. Just needs a couple of mistakes in front of him.
I haven't seen the 60 car out of shape. I've seen the 7 car out of shape. I've seen the 2 car out of shape. The 9 car has been very solid. You know, now at this point, 2 laps to go,
2 more. Nice
and you've
smooth,
never
2
won
more.
a Nationwide Series race, and you're wondering about fuel, and he's done everything right, and guess what? You're starting to hear things that didn't exist 20 laps ago. Maybe the engine's got a little different tone. Maybe the thing skips a little bit up off the corner. Like, I'm saying sort of phantom type stuff, because you know, now we're down to just the last out.
And you overthink all the technical things you have to do with braking, steering, and shifting.
Exactly, and that's where you're most at risk. So to the point where he can maintain his composure and do what he's done for 88 laps, he's going to win this race if he has enough fuel.
Beginning of our show, we talked about the opportunity presented here for drivers like Chris Buescher. Without the field stacked with Sprint Cup Series drivers, it presented just a little bit more of a window for perhaps the 5th different winner of the 2014 season. If he stays on course, and if he has the fuel, looks like Chris Buescher might be able to make it happen today.
He's about to enter the longest lap of his life.
Yeah, normally it takes a minute 25 or so. It's going to be longer than that for him, isn't it?
Yeah, and at this point, you know, it's almost, I don't know. I've never raced a horse, but just let him go.
Final lap. Nice and
Just
smooth.
let him go.
Lift where you can. You still got
White
2 seconds
flag
on him
for
here.
Chris Buescher at Mid-Ohio. 1 lap to go.
Nice and smooth. He uses all the racetrack. By using all the racetrack, means you can actually use less brake getting in the corner, let the car roll. When you start to tighten up the corner, that means you're using more brake. And as I said earlier, using more brake means you use more fuel to get the thing up off the corner.
Listening, watching. Will the fuel hold out? That horse doesn't run on nothing.
If you're going to save fuel, it's right here. The longest stretch of the racetrack, high gear, 160 miles an hour, and it doesn't surprise me that the 7 car Regan Smith closed in that section of the course.
In his mirrors, lap traffic, slower traffic up ahead for Chris Buescher. That's Tim Cowan in the 86 car. Can he get by cleanly?
He's going into the S's. Again, you got to look ahead. Try to anticipate as you're closing on him when you're going to catch him. You don't want to catch him into turn 9. You want to try to make the pass before you get to turn 11.
Cowan out of shape. Here comes the leader, Buescher.
Not going to happen, so he needs to yield here. The lap car needs to go high.
Smoothly, but blocked by the lap car. He is all over Cowan trying to push him out of the way.
And he
Through the
handles it
carousel.
himself.
He
takes
did.
control.
He moves out. The 86 car, the 60 of Chris Buescher is going to win at Mid-Ohio.
That is a great story and fun to see.
Nice job.
How about that? Sometimes you just have to make your way, Ricky. And that's what Chris Buescher did in the final 2 corners.
Moment stood still when he went under the checkered flag.
Thank you so much.
You hear it?
That was for you, buddy.
It means that much.
You did an awesome job, man. That was incredible. Thank you.
The celebration continues on the radio around the track. Vince Welch is caught up with the crew chief.
Well, a great call by Scott Graves to come early and keep him out there. How nerve-wracking were those final laps?
I was going to throw up. Felt like it. That's amazing. That is so cool to be able to do that. You know, I just took a chance. I mean, we've been saying all year, we're here to win, and we're trying to show people what we can do. And to do that, you got to take risks. Sometimes you got to get out front and make some things happen. And just glad we can do that today. So,
what about the job your driver did today?
He's awesome. He's awesome, man. I didn't know it, but we got a road course ace with us here too. So, like I said, he did a great job. Saved all the fuel he could do it, and it's cool. Just got to thank everybody back at the shop, everyone at Roush Fenway. They gave us an awesome car here this weekend. We tried something new, really worked out. So I just got to thank everybody back there, Robbie, Jack, Tommy Wheeler, all those guys. Great stuff.
Big day today for the 60 team, Dave.
And kudos to all the teams who carried patient champions today, including the 60, on board their race cars today. And young Luke Benner, the beneficiary of a great drive by Chris Buescher. Look at the team. They're ready to say, hey, you're our guy.
I expect this young man's going to win a lot more races, but none of them are going to feel as gratifying as this one.
Checkered flag in hand for Chris Buescher. He earned it today with the help of those guys right there. Those guys and girls who help out everything that he can do to drive that 60 car.
Car doesn't have a scratch on it, Dave, but that might change in a minute.
And you don't want this moment to end, do you, Ricky?
No, exactly. Exactly. All the years of sacrifice, hard work, energy, it's about this moment right here. And you're right, it doesn't last long enough. We're going to see his onboard reaction here, and it tells the whole story.
Enough said.